Hey all, this is 012 Boku coming at you with another movie review, and we are finally on, as you guys know, a movie, and it is this one, The Deadpool, Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry franchise, the last one in the franchise, The Deadpool. There's the actual cover of the DVD slash Blu-ray release of it down there. If you guys can see it, get it closer there, and there you go. And this one is the final in the Dirty Harry franchise, the last movie they've done. I know people have said for years they've tried to see if Clint Eastwood wanted to do another one. He said there would have to be a really good script for him to do it. And as you guys know, with I think the guy being 91, maybe even 92 now, those days have passed for Clint Eastwood. I don't think we'll get another one. He's the only one. I know there were a few people, like sort of like myself, who was a little miffed when Harrison Ford said he's the only one who could be Indiana Jones. Now, granted, if they ever had somebody younger play Indiana Jones, like Sean Patrick Flannery did, I think they could pull that off. Dirty Harry, though, Harry Callahan is another character entirely, and I think that character is forever going to be Clint Eastwood's. Because if you had somebody else step into the character of that today, oh man, how that would be portrayed, and just I don't know, I would be just flabbergasted if they could pull off just a great of a performance. But anyhow, to the Deadpool, and not a side thing, I'll probably try to get that at the ending. This one starts off with the Deadpool, and the reason I say that is someone is making the Deadpool list. They go over this later in the film, but the Deadpool is a game that high rollers or high stakes or celebrity people play, where you're going to guess people who you think is going to die over the next year. You put down as many as if you can, and you cross up the list to see who's going to be killed or just die or keel over or whatnot. And we see this man who is in a director's chair. His name is Peter Swan, and we don't see his face. We see the back of him, and he's making up the list, and he seems to be in this nice penthouse apartment. As the camera pans out, and we see Harry Callahan driving down the San Francisco Bridge, and as he's doing so, he's being followed by a car. Turns out it's gangsters. Kills all the gangsters who are trying to kill him after they knock his car over, and he's miraculously okay. But hey, it's Harry Callahan, even though Clint Eastwood is technically older, and I think they said he was 58 when he did this, so at 58 years old, yeah, technically older, but still can kick ass, is a great thing. And the reason he has gangsters chasing him is he just put away mob boss in San Francisco, Lou Gennaro, and Lou Gennaro still has a contract down on him. And oh yeah, there it is. It was the next part of the thing. Because of this mafia hit, though, Harry Callahan gets a new partner named Al Quan, who is, I'm going to say, yeah, he's a Chinese American and something like that, of Chinese descent or of Asian descent. And, his boss, or not his lieutenant, not the chief, but the lieutenant, forget the lieutenant's name, but the lieutenant says, teaming with the Chinese American could be very good for the department's image. And both the chief, Al, and Harry are like, wow, I'm usually the prejudiced one, and that was pretty, racist of you, Lieutenant. And, it's like, just, oh yeah, Harry walks out of the office and is like, Lieutenant, do you have any children? No, not yet. Lucky for them. And, it's like saying, yeah, because what he said there is like, oh boy, how do you get along in life? But still, as we see this is going on, we go to Peter Swan finally, and he's a horror director where he's known for making low budget, very violent horror films. And if you guys know, by the 70s and 80s, we were really big into the horror genre, big into sequels. So Peter Swan is this big sequel horror director where he rips off of other movies, or he pays homages to them, as he says, and makes them his own. He does have a huge fan base, but a lot of critics don't like his stuff. He uses a lot of actors and people. Peter Swan is also a not nice person. He's very egocentric, very driven, very ambitious. He talks down to people, makes fun of people, is a very not nice guy at all, this Peter Swan. And as we get there, he's working with an actor named Johnny Squares. I didn't write it down here, but if you guys want to know, Johnny Squares, it wasn't his first movie, but this was a big breakout role for Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, or as he's called in this one, James Carrey, plays Johnny Squares. It was, again, early days for Jim Carrey, so 1988, right when he was starting out before he hit it big with the mask. So it's cool how he was in this movie. And yeah, he does do some of his trademark stuff. And again, me and Jarek took a little jab about how he's in a violent movie. And if you guys know his thing about Kick-Ass, but I won't get into that here. We'll probably get into that when we do Kick-Ass, because I do plan to get Kick-Ass 1 and 2 at some point, and we can get into that during that time. But, Johnny Squares is working with him. Johnny Squares is upset because nothing's working on set. The animatronics are not working good. Stuff's going all nutty. He's upset. He's telling Peter Swan will get a director or get it together. And Peter Swan's like, oh no, Johnny, you're hurting, aren't you? And he's like, I have it. I can handle it. And he says, just let me go back to my trailer. Let me get it together. So he goes back to his trailer. And if you guys know by hurting, it's what they called with heroin addicts when they needed heroin and, they couldn't function because they needed another hit to function. And even though Johnny Squares told Peter Swan that's what he wasn't going to do, it's what he does, and he shoots up heroin. There's this one guy who comes in after he shot up. We don't see him. He enters the trailer, but Johnny Squares is like high off his mind, says, hey, how you doing? Then, this guy grabs him, pulls his head back, shoves some pills down his throat, and then he's like freaking out, and then he basically looks like he chokes or suffocates because it looks like Johnny Squares is given an overdose. And you have, the press there, everybody else there, and there's this one reporter, have her name down because she was the second main character in this movie. Yeah, Samantha Walker, who is always there for every Harry Callahan case, and she wants to know about Harry Callahan. She wants to get the story. And you have Johnny Squares' girlfriend show up trying to get to her boyfriend. And she's distraught. She can't believe Johnny's dead. She's in tears. The cops are trying to hold her back, saying, you don't want to see this. You don't want to be here. Harry's trying to console her, but also get the press out of the way. And then you have it to where the press is still trying to get into the girlfriend's face. It's Samantha Walker and her cameraman are the two people that get right front and center. And Harry, in anger, takes the camera and chucks it, saying, give this woman some peace. Get the hell out of here. So he literally chucks the camera and breaks the camera. As you can imagine, the TV studio, Samantha Walker, the cameraman, they're not too happy about it. So Samantha Walker's station is suing the police department and Harry Callahan for what was done. There's the chief and lieutenant are wondering how could they make this go away. Harry really doesn't care, but Harry agrees to it, so he and the department don't get sued. And they're wondering what Samantha Walker wants. Samantha Walker wants dinner with Harry Callahan. But the reason she wants dinner with Harry Callahan is because she wants to do Harry Callahan's story. And as we learn, Harry Callahan isn't interested whatsoever. He doesn't want to be a press tool to be, garnered against. And he says this thing with the press is, it's what you guys do to get the story. You'll do anything to get the story at any cost, no matter what you heard. And over this film, we see Samantha Walker see the realization of that, or she's always had that, but she also has the ambition of a reporter where she still needs to get the story, but she's not completely all bad. Because there was a point where, there was a guy who pretended to be the Deadpool murderer in the movie, and he was going to burn himself alive, and he wanted Samantha Walker, and Harry was disguised as the cameraman to film it, but she refused it because she didn't want to have people see this man kill himself on live TV and traumatize viewers probably all along California and even, believe it or not, probably United States if we were doing any, big national news in other cities and states by then. Because I know by the late 80s we were starting to do that more and we were making more local news, national news. You may agree with that or not. I do agree with it somewhat, but then I think we need to get back to more local news too, and not just national news. I think we do need a bit more local news in our cities. But hey, that's why I also listen to radio as a little side note, because radio is one of the biggest ways that I get side news on what's going on in Tucson, which is where I'm at. And as well, I get it through a news phone app. But, that's neither here or there. Another tangent there. Sorry. But as they say, the film goes on and there's more murders to this Deadpool, and the Deadpool is linked to Peter Swan, and it's looking like Peter Swan is killing these people, but Peter Swan keeps denying it, doesn't say it's him, and he's there at the funeral with Johnny, and there's all these things where something's connected to his movie, and Samantha Walker even tells Harry that someone's killing these people based on Peter Swan's movies, and we need to get to the bottom of it. But Samantha and Harry have a hard time working together, but then they start to form a friendship, possibly even romantic bond, which you really don't really see the romantic bond in this one. Not like with Sandra Locke's character and Harry Callahan and sudden impact, the fourth movie. You don't really see that at all in this one where they had a fling. It's just sort of like, it looks like they could have had a fling, but they develop a good, meaningful relationship. To this one as well, we find out that Harry Callahan is also on the Deadpool list, and he wonders why Swan put his name on there, and Swan's like, well, you're big news. I figured, putting your name on there, given how you are, you die soon, and it's only just a game, love. Mean nothing by it. You shouldn't really look into it. It's just a twisted, sick game, because he's thinking twisted, sick game is it's a thing where they just guess, and, you have Harry sort of like indirectly threaten Swan, and Swan's like, are you threatening me? Well, if you're going to do that, you need to know how the game works, love. And all these cool things, but, there's a whole bunch of great things that this movie does, and this movie, without divulging into whole story territory, you wonder if it's Peter Swan doing it or not. Some people recognize him, some people don't. You don't really see if it is Peter Swan doing these killings. They keep it separated up to the very end of the film, which I thought was a very clever thing. And I'll get to that, and I'll get into that a little bit when I go over the cast. But that's what the whole movie becomes about, is this Deadpool, and who's killing him. Is it Gennaro? Is it somebody else? Is it Peter Swan, who's cracked under his movies? Everybody else thinks so. Some people don't. So it's a very unique detective story. And I know some people think this movie's weak, but I actually think the movie holds up and carries well for the last Dirty Harry film. And like I said, it's a personal Dark Horse favorite to mine. My favorite is still Magnum Force, but this one I would say very close to one, because the Deadpool used to be my first favorite, but Magnum Force now is. But I'd say it's sort of here. So I would say sort of layered onto each other. Magnum Force is one, and the Deadpool's right below it two, or almost a tie for one. And I guess I can mention it now. My favorite film out of the Dirty Harry franchise is Magnum Force, because how it was about cops killing criminals and the law going way overboard, and when should we accept justice and not. That's why the Deadpool's or Magnum Force is my favorite, the second movie. This one was good because I liked the characters, I liked the story. Al Quan was a great partner for Harry to have. It was cool seeing Liam Neeson in this movie. Very early days for Liam Neeson. It was cool seeing Jim Carrey, and all the other characters. And I'll get in the cast in a moment, and I guess I could do that now. Basically, out of all the main character cast, which I'll just read off, Clint Eastwood, Harry Callahan, Patricia Clarkson, Samantha Walker, Liam Neeson, Peter Swan, Evan C. Kim, Al Quan, they all did great in this movie. So if you wanted to know who my favorite character is, again, I'm not going to say no to Harry Callahan, but Harry Callahan's great in every film, and, Clint Eastwood's a tremendous actor, so he gets all the nods. But I definitely have to say that everybody did a great job in this movie. I mean, again, Clint Eastwood is Harry Callahan, spot on. And, Patricia Clarkson was great as Samantha Walker, the very intrepid investigative reporter, where she does have morals, but where she'll do anything to get the story. Evan C. Kim, who played Al Quan, you know, great partner for Harry to have, is basically as sarcastic as Harry, is nervous around Harry, but is willing to get the job done. Was a street gang hoodlum guy in Chinatown, San Francisco, or wherever this is at, and is trying to make up for all the things he did in his past life, and also he has a cool martial arts scene in this movie, which was awesome. And I don't know why people keep mentioning it. Evan C. Kim did his own stunts. I mean, you can tell it's him, and it is a really quick scene, but I think it's cool that he had those quick scenes where he did his own martial arts in it. That was cool. But my ultimate favorite character, besides all those that I mentioned, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot, Liam Neeson, the jerkish director, because I think I forgot to mention Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, the jerkish director, great in this role, is just a complete asshole, really well done. And then when he tells them about who could really be behind this, how freaked out he gets. Well done too, Liam Neeson. Great acting there too. But again, my favorite character in this, I have to give it to David Hunt, who played Harlan Rook. Now, as a spoiler here, if you guys don't want to keep watching, click off now, but I'm going to keep going, so quick pause. Okay. David Hunt, who plays Harlan Rook, is the villain in this one, the killer. And Harlan Rook is a guy who basically suffers from paranoid delusional schizophrenia, where he thinks Peter Swan isn't Peter Swan, but he's Peter Swan. He started out as a huge fanboy of Peter Swan, loved his movies, loved his stuff. In his mind, Harlan Rook thought he made those movies, and he was killing people with Peter Swan's films to frame Peter Swan for his death. And he got a copy somehow of Peter Swan's death note, recopied it, wrote it down with Dirty Harry's, Harry Callahan's name on there. And there were all these things, because there's a point where he kidnaps Samantha Walker to use it as bait to get Harry Callahan killed, because he knows Harry Callahan's becoming a problem for him. And, he tells Samantha Walker that, he made up everything. Peter Swan got in his mind, took all of his ideas. So David Hunt just plays this complete crazy, like they said, paranoid schizophrenic, where he looks like Peter Swan, tries to sound like Peter Swan, commits murders based off his movies in this film. It's just really great and creepy stuff. So I gotta give the edge to David Hunt, because his villainous portrayal that we see throughout the film, just in secret and then revealed all the way at the end, was just so good. So brilliant, David Hunt. And overall, like I said, the Deadpool here, showing you both again, is a fun movie, and it's one that I really like. And again, I like this whole series. And as you guys heard, Magnum Force is my favorite, because I just love the detective work, how cops were the ones doing the killing, where it talks about that moral high ground and everything they do, and it's great. Oh, I forgot to mention the quote for the Deadpool is, when he's in there, it starts off that he says it once there and once at the end. It's, you forgot your cookie. What? And it says, you're shit out of luck. He says that to Harlan Rook before he kills him too, and that's the quote in this movie, you're shit out of luck. So, great movie quote, just great fun movie all around. And like my friend Jarek was saying, he'll probably give it in his review that we'll try to do tomorrow or sometime this week, that, it did have good detective work, good ways of trying to figure out what was going on, great characterization. So all in all, a good movie, and I put it just as high as the other ones. If you guys want to know my least favorite, let me get it out again, because, well, yeah, there would be 3 movies in this one, and probably a little hard to see, but if you guys see that one down there, The Enforcer, and it's right there too, the Enforcer right there. The Enforcer, I think, is my least favorite, because it was a good movie, but his female partner, although good, and I liked her, and I think her name was Kate. I did like her a lot, and I did like the stuff, but the hippie villains, although good, and Bobby Maxwell, being the villain was cool. You know, Devon, you know, Brooke Walter, I think his name was, or whatnot. You know, he was a good villain too, and it was great. But they were rather weak, and the third one did have its weak points. But it's still a good movie where it's not bad, but it just doesn't hold a candle to the first one, second one, fourth one, or fifth one, in my opinion. But it's still a good Dirty Harry movie. But again, what do you guys think? Leave your comments down below. Let me know about what you thought of the Deadpool and maybe the other Dirty Harry movies, and we'll get this discussion going, all right?